Welcome to The Explainer. And today we're cracking open Chapter 3 of the ISO/ISC 42001-2023 guidelines, focusing on reporting nonconformities and executing corrective actions. Our main goal here is transforming a static and, let's be honest, sometimes totally intimidating audit report into a dynamic, step-by-step blueprint for improvement. We're going to dive into exactly how you can take the findings from an information security management system audit and turn them into actionable, permanent upgrades for your organization.
So, picture this ultimate scenario. Your AI management system has just been audited and a critical flaw is exposed. Maybe it's a glaring security vulnerability or, a hidden bias in your data processing. Your heart completely drops, right? But hey, instead of panicking, we're going to look at how standardized responses actually use these stressful moments as a catalyst for incredible organizational resilience. We'll see how formalizing our response literally makes the entire system bulletproof. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover spotting the security vulnerability, uncovering the root cause, the PDCA action cycle, implementing corrective actions, and finally, documenting continuous improvement. Let's jump right into Section 1. Spotting the security vulnerability. So, what actually is a nonconformity? Basically, it's just a deviation from the standard. Think of it as the crime scene where our whole investigation kicks off. It could be failing to review a risk assessment, completely ignoring an internal security policy, or maybe bypassing a legal obligation. Whatever the slip-up is, this failure to meet the specified requirements is the trigger for absolutely everything that follows in the ISO framework. Because, without identifying these nonconformities clearly, an organization is essentially flying blind, allowing hidden risks to just quietly undermine their entire operation.
Now, it's absolutely vital to classify the threat correctly, because fixing an isolated bug requires a completely different level of urgency than resolving a massive systemic failure. Think of a minor nonconformity like a leaky faucet, a procedural lapse with lower risk. A major nonconformity, on the other hand, is a burst pipe. That is a systemic failure that threatens the entire AI management system and demands immediate triage. If you treat a burst pipe like a leaky faucet, your system's going to flood. Understanding this distinction ensures you're dedicating the right level of resources and executive attention to the problems that actually threaten your overall objectives.
Moving on to Section 2, uncovering the root cause.
ISO 4200 basically requires us to put on our detective hats, tracking a problem all the way back to its origin rather than just slapping a temporary Band-Aid on it. You might use the fishbone diagram to categorize causes by people, process, and technology. Or maybe Pareto analysis, which uses the 80-20 rule to find the 20% of causes creating 80% of your headaches. There's also FMEA to evaluate potential failure modes and calculate their impact before they even happen. But let's look a little closer at one of the most effective, straightforward methods for peeling back these layers.
Let's actually see the 5 whys technique in action. It's wild how a technical glitch almost always traces back to a human or policy failure. We start with a symptom, unauthorized AI data access. Well, why did that happen? Weak access controls. Okay, why were there weak access controls? Because of outdated security software. Why was the software outdated? Turns out, a maintenance policy was completely ignored. And why was it ignored? Because ultimately, there was a glaring lack of management accountability. By relentlessly asking why, we completely bypass the superficial symptoms and uncover the true foundation of the nonconformity. If we just updated the software, the issue would definitely happen again. Fixing the management accountability ensures it absolutely doesn't.
That brings us to Section 3, the PDCA action cycle.
Enter the plan, do, check, act cycle. Honestly, this is your continuous engine of improvement, your secret weapon for compliance. It ensures your solutions aren't just one-time fixes, but permanent upgrades. First, you plan your objective, based on that root cause we just dug up. Then, you do the work to implement the fix. Crucially, you check to verify the problem is actually resolved. And finally, you act to standardize that fix across the entire organization. It's basically a perpetual motion machine for organizational resilience, guaranteeing that every single error makes you structurally stronger.
Next up, Section 4, implementing corrective actions.
We really need to distinguish between correcting and preventing. Correcting a flaw is like putting a Band-Aid on a cut, say upgrading software to stop an active breach. That's great. But preventive action is removing the sharp edge that caused the cut in the very first place. That looks more like implementing an automated system that guarantees software can never become outdated again. True compliance is proactive, not just reactive. Your auditors want to see that you aren't just playing whack-a-mole with errors, but actually redesigning the game so the moles stop popping up altogether. A robust corrective action plan leaves absolutely nothing to chance. It requires clear, smart objectives. Instead of a vague goal like improve security, a SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Think something more like deploy multi-factor authentication to all admin accounts by Q3. The plan demands clear ownership, so everyone knows exactly who is responsible, strict deadlines, and the allocated resources to actually get it done. Finally, it outlines the exact verification methods to prove the fix actually worked. Without these elements, well, your plan is kind of just a wish.
And finally, Section 5, documenting continuous improvement.
Your corrective and preventative action, or CAPA, log is basically your ultimate blueprint. Let's walk through an example straight from our sources. Imagine an AI system rejecting loan applications due to bias. The root cause? Flawed historical training data. The action taken? Retraining the model and updating the policy, with the data science lead taking direct responsibility, followed by a verified audit pass. Notice this second example too. A missing risk assessment caused by a lack of resources is fixed by top management stepping up and assigning a dedicated team. This log is your tangible proof to auditors that your organization learns, adapts, and relentlessly improves.
There's this quote from the Standard that really just reframes the whole process for me. Corrective actions are integral to the continual improvement cycle, contributing to both immediate resolutions and long-term improvements in the management system. It reminds us that an audit isn't some punitive grade designed to make your organization look bad. It's an empowering tool. By thoroughly documenting your nonconformities and your corrective actions, you're actively building a deeply resilient system. You are shifting from a mindset of compliance as a chore to compliance as a massive competitive advantage.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought to challenge how you approach your next audit. Instead of dreading those findings, what if you treated them as the exact blueprint you need to optimize your AI management system? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep learning, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.